All right, today we'll tackle the network types. This is network cabling class, so we might as well learn. We'll start from scratch and learn about what the network types are. Okay, so we'll talk about the network types. All right. Right, this is there's a bit of a funny picture at the beginning. Okay, need a drummer at the drum. People using the little bit of a tin cans and wires to communicate. Telecommunications, communications over a distance. All right. Let's take a look. A quick definition: a network, a computer network. What kind of footwear? Just wear some shoes. Try not to wear flip flops. They're kind of grotesque, you know. But hey, um, just regular shoes. No open toes. Yeah, well, there's no specific requirement as far as what shoes you should. Just show up like a normal person, right? All right. Um, okay, so network. What is a computer network? And I wrote this thing here a couple of years ago. A group of computer systems and other computing hardware devices. Well, what are the computing devices? Pretty much anything that is a smart device. What's a smart device? It's a device that has enough electronics there to work on its own. Plus, it has a communication peripheral that it can communicate with other devices or the main network node. All right. All right. So, what other devices could be? Security cameras. It could be security alarm systems or other peripherals like expansion boards or specific devices like motion sensors, glass breaks, and some that's called door contacts. There could be something that's called wireless access points, aka WAPs, and those are the devices that are in the ceiling or on the walls. They look like some kind of a mysterious rectangular or square box, usually white, and there's some flashing lights there, and sometimes you can see antennas sticking out of them. These are the wireless access points, and these are the devices that make it possible for you to connect with your cell phones and your laptops or whatever that uses wireless technology to our school network or otherwise network that you are in proximity of. Right now, so a group of computer systems and other hardware devices that are linked together through communication channels. Hmm? To facilitate communication and resource sharing among a wide range of users. Well, you pretty much get the idea what a computer network is because you're using it every day. Networks are commonly categorized based on their characteristics, and we'll just take a look at some of that. Right? Um, yeah, WAPs, wireless access points. Sometimes they're called WAPs, sometimes they're called APs, or sometimes full words are being used. Access points, wireless access points. All right, network types. Keep going. We will take a look at some of the basic network types here. LAN stands for local area network. WAN stands for wide area network. WLAN, wireless local area network. MAN, metropolitan area network. SAN, SAN, storage area network or system area network or server area network or small area network. Right. So that's and then we'll take a look at what VPN is. I took a picture some time ago because whenever I was in the industry of the service industry, we had to do deliverables. So I do have a lot of pictures from my deliverables that I kept, and this is one of them. This is one of those retail facilities, like a store. And you can see here, there's some lights on. This is the gateway and the VPN. Do we see VPN here? Yes, we see the VPN. All right. Now we see the LAN ports, and we see the WAN. So that means it has found internet, and then it logged on to VPN. And these are the hardwired connections to other devices within the network. And here's the OK light. Right? Now, after we have gone through this lesson, we're going to come back to this picture. Let's see how much more meaning it will present to you after we go through this lesson here. All right. So first, we're going to take a look at the local area network. What it is. LAN, local area network, connects a group of computers or other devices, smart devices, in close proximity within the same facility, such as a building or group of buildings. But those group of buildings can be grouped into a one local area network. Purpose: sharing resources and services, such as files, printers, applications, email or internet access, and many, many more. Okay? Uh, One network can consist of multiple LANs working together. Right? For example, a company could have different departments. You could have accounting, production plant, management offices, and so on. So let's see if there is accounting department that has files that being basically exchanged just within that department. There's no sense of having the whole network see this kind of traffic because that traffic can be contained within a specific department. So that local area network can be sort of separated into some form of a sub local area network. So it could be divided into, I could say, clusters. All right. Again, one network can consist of multiple LANs working together. All right. All right. Local area network. Let me see here. Where are we? Connects a group of computers in close proximity within the same facility. So let's take a look at what that means. I just took a picture of some aerial photograph from Google Maps. So it doesn't mean anything. I just wanted to find some buildings that are close together, and I don't know what these buildings are. We're just going to pretend that these two buildings belong to the same company. All right. So of course, we're not going to have two networks. We're going to have one main network. And how are we going to connect those? There are a couple of ways of connecting. Remember the basic communication model from the previous class. There's an input transducer, there's a processor, there's a link, and there's a receiver, and there's an output transducer. So we can sort of connect that with this. We're going to concentrate on how is it that you can make those two buildings part of the same network. All right. So let's say usually you would choose one communication room in one of the buildings, and then you would have some sort of a link connecting these two buildings, that you would have a communication closet there, and you have a communication closet there, and those two closets will be connected, but one of them would be considered as a main frame. All right. And the other one would be, so it could be MDF, main distribution frame. The other one could be considered as IDF, intermediate distribution frame. So the main distribution frame, you would have all the backbone equipment or all the backbone paraphernalia connected, which means the internet would be connected there. This would be the whole gateway to the whole world. How do we connect them? Well, wrong way. This way here. All right, so let's just consider these two buildings. And I drew a red line here. How can we connect this? We can connect this thing through a bunch of Ethernet cables, but the Ethernet cables, their bandwidth or the throughput or how much information it can provide at one time, it's not as efficient as some other ways of communicating. So you could have a bunch of those, or you can have one um, underground run optical fiber or fiber optic cable. Right? And this would they would connect these two frames, right? Or you could have a wireless communication going on. So the link, remember the link, what do we have? We could have copper We could have air, right? And well, okay, yeah, you could have copper, air, or you could have optical fiber. Right now, these are the two main means of linking devices together. Now, I want to point out to you uh, some device that is called a media converter. Right? You're going to hear that a lot. I'm going to keep throwing this technical lingo at you once in a while. What's a media converter? A media converter would be a device that converts one type of signal onto another. If somebody's going to ask you to bring them a media converter, you're not just going to go to a variety store and say, "Can I have a media converter?" Right? Because there could be different types of media converters. There could be a media converter that converts the electric signals, which would be in form of Ethernet, onto a wireless signal that could be transmitted to the antenna. There could be a media converter that converts electrical signals as far as the Ethernet, and it can convert that into the light pulses, which will be converting that into the optical fiber equipment. Depending on what you want to convert into what, you're going to have to choose the proper media converter, right? What would we have? We would have the main distribution frame, and if there's going to be a link, it's going to be connected to a media converter, and the media converter is going to convert the signal so it could be transmitted wirelessly, and then on the other side is going to be another media converter to convert the signal back to the electrical signals that could be that could work as a so it could be interpreted by the rest of the network that is basically connected with copper wires. All right. So here's another way of media converters, or sometimes they're called media players. When you see when you go to any kind of a donut shop or a burger shop or something like that, behind the counter, behind the people, the salespeople, you're going to see those menu boards, which is a bunch of monitors that are going to flash some menus of, here's a burger, here's a pop, and and sometimes they're flashing and sometimes they're interconnected with each other. So they also have media converters. So the media converters convert the Ethernet signal to the video signal that can be could be interpreted by the monitors, right? In the some of the old venues, you could see external box that would be called media converter or media player that would be interfaced with the Ethernet signal, basically something that's called computer cable, plugged in there, and that thing runs to the main network, and that box receives the signal that is in the form of Ethernet signal, right? And then it converts that to the video signal that can be displayed on the monitor, right? Then later on, the next generation of those devices were that they would have slots that you could just insert the media converter card or media player card into it, and then you would convert. And those would be addressed. They would have specific address, and they would have to be put in a specific order. So let's say that that somebody wants an effect of like a ping pong ball going across all the monitors. Those media converters would have to be put in certain orders so they receive the signal properly. Right? If you switch them, then it would be it would be a mess. Right? Now, the latest ones, the most modern ones that you can see right now, they actually have those media converters built into the monitors. They're specific. They're produced for a specific purpose for the media converters. Some time ago, it would be just a regular bigger monitors, and they would be uh, armed with those media converters. But now the menu boards are being produced for the specific purpose to hang behind the counter, sales counter. All right. So here's the media converter idea. All right. I'll just give you a couple types, but anything that converts one type of signal to another, it can be called a media converter. Right? Some of the most popular ones would be the ones that convert Ethernet into optical fiber signal. We'll talk about those as we go along. All right. LAN cable structure. Here's an example. Again, one of my deliverables pictures, it's a long time ago from some service calls. Why did I give you this picture? I gave you this picture because I said on the side here, not all networks are up to highest standards. Some service calls will look like this. Right? But what can we see here? We can see some form of a patch panel, and you're going to have a lab connecting a patch panel. Basically, the idea of a patch panel is to get a bunch of jacks together in one frame, so there's no mess. But over here, what do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ports. And somebody who just wanted to go a cheap way or inexpensive way and just get a couple of quadruple jack devices. And it can be done that way. So on the other side of those jacks, there are wires that are going to specific devices, probably to some desktop computers. Maybe one of them is going somewhere to a wireless access point that's mounted in the ceiling and so on. And then over here, we're using the patch cables that we're connecting from those devices. We're connecting into something that's called a switch. And the switch is connected to a gateway is connected to a modem, and the modem is connected to the outside world. So if it's a smaller network, yes, you're going to see some things like that. But if you can pick the elements, you can service it just like any sophisticated network. Wire management, yes, good. I like wire management. Now, sometimes you're going to see things like this, right? Believe it or not, this is the same as this, except this is bigger. Remember when I was showing you the mixing boards, a little small mixing board versus a big mixing board. A big mixing board, it just has more channels. So this is a data center I got from the internet. I think it's a Google data center. Right? You see that all those switches here? It's one of those, except more sophisticated. And there's a lot of them. Right? One thing I want to point out to you is just consider things like that. Consider a power requirement to service this equipment. It takes a lot of power, a lot. Right? Now, all those devices, they also produce heat. So you need to have a power for air conditioning of this whole room. If the air conditioning fails, this whole room is going to get so hot that the temperature of all those devices is going to actually damage those devices, or at least because the switches, the modern switches, routers, and whatnot, they do have built-in temperature gauges, and they're going to register the temperature. And if the temperature of the device goes over a certain value, then the warranty is void automatically. All right. So what did I write here? Typical 2 vertical sections of those racks, so 1 and 2. It would be the equivalent of a house barbecue running a full blast. So here's a 1 barbecue running full blast. Here's a 1 barbecue running full blast. Can you imagine those barbecues? And if this is an enclosed area, can you just imagine how much heat this thing will be producing? It gets hot pretty fast, right? Also, you could see cable trays here. Of course, there will be a lot of cables connecting these devices, but where are those cables? Shouldn't be there like a bunch or like bundles upon bundles of cables? Well, those flex pipes, those orange flex pipes that you can see here, here's one, they would be the protective conduits or raceways that would protect the optical fibers, because optical fibers are quite fragile. Right? So some of that, you can see the optical fiber there. But then there's some more cables. There's more cables. Where are they? here is the tray. It's almost empty. Well, pretty much empty there, right? Where are those cables? Right. Well, see this kind of a floor here? Nicely sophisticated tiles. Here is the concept of something that's called a raised floor. That's where all the cables run. It's an expensive floor, just like the ceiling tiles, but they're floor tiles. Of course, they're more tough and rigid, so you can walk on them. But when you see something like that, quite often in some more sophisticated data centers, you are going to see um, raised floor. So just so you can run the cables comfortably. Um, yeah, sometimes you're going to see things blurry. Let's see how many people we have joined in today. We have about 53 people. When they have the Zoom sessions, the more people log in, the bandwidth is getting spread out thin a little bit, so the video quality is not going to be as good. But you're also going to have the posted lecture notes, so it's going to be exactly what it is here. So you can see more details once you download those PDF files. Right? So raised floor, you can put those tiles, and whenever you're going to go and encounter something that's called a raised floor, you're going to look for those suction caps. They are part of the whole structure, because otherwise you won't be able to lift those. All right. So where are those cables? Well, mostly they will be under the floor. All right, WAN. Let's take a look at WAN, Wide Area Network. WAN joins an unlimited number of smaller networks, unlimited number, in a way that devices of different networks can communicate with each other. All right. Well, the best example of wide area network would be something that's called the internet. All right. So this is a wide area network. Here's the back of a device. A very simple device. It would be like a home kind of a consumer type of a device. Quite often it's called the box. Right. Let's look at some of those inputs or the ports that make up this box. Well, here's a no-brainer. Here's a power. You need to power it up. So it will be a power adapter. Here's a reset button. Well, okay. If something doesn't work, that will be the first thing that it would press the reset button. But be careful. Sometimes if you press the reset button, it resets things too much. So you should know a little bit about the device that you have. And now you have the LAN ports, the Ethernet ports, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Okay, and then you have something that's called a DSL. So this device here could be used in two basic ways. It could be used as a modem and a switch and a router, because sometimes you can have those boxes separate. You can have a separate modem, you can have a separate switch, you can have a separate router, and whatnot. But sometimes, especially in the consumer type of electronics, those devices could be enclosed in one box. All right, so you have the LAN ports. You can have 4 LAN ports. To the LAN ports, you can connect devices, such as your personal computer, your laptop, wireless access point, maybe a security camera, whatever uses the Ethernet protocol, the Ethernet type of signal, you can connect that using a copper Ethernet cable. Cat5 minimum these days, but we're going towards Cat6 more and more. But we'll talk about those different categories, all right? Now, and also it could be used as a modem, which you can connect a DSL signal, and DSL stands for Digital Subscribers Line. It's a telephone line that contains internet signal, not Ethernet, but internet, right? So that's where this thing is connected to the WAN, the wide area network, right? And then if that's the case, then all 4 ports can be used as LAN ports. Right? Now, also what you can do is you can connect one of the LAN ports to a switch that would have multiple ports, and it would split the signal in between other devices. So you can connect this one, like say the one first from the right, and you can connect that port into a communication port or LAN port of a 8-port switch, and then you can have 7 more devices because one of the ports will be used to communicate between these 2 boxes, right? Or if you don't want to use this as a modem, you can use the first one as a LAN or as a WAN port, which you could have a separate modem that brings the internet and converts it into Ethernet. And you can connect that into the output port of a modem. So then you have 3 ports. You can directly connect to this quote-unquote box, or this box also can be connected, as I said, to a switch or a hub. All right, and then I will give you some links of that tell you the difference between a switch and a hub. Hubs are mostly not used anymore. However, you can still buy them. They're much cheaper. All right. Yeah, dial-up internet stands for digital subscribers line. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the phone systems. And yeah. All right. So that's a WAN here. Right now, when wireless WLAN. I thought DSL was an upgrade from dial-up. In a way, yes, it is. Dial-up, believe it or not, right? Believe it or not, dial-up is still being used. Right? And we'll talk about. So why wireless local area network? Well, as the word wireless suggests, this is a LAN that uses wireless network protocols, signal protocols, to establish communication between the devices. Now, are you using wireless devices? You're using them all the time. Your cell phone is a wireless device. You connect to a local area network through the access points or wireless access points that are in the wall in our schools. You go to the local donut shop, and most of them have the wireless access points, and you can log on to them so you don't have to use your data, right? Just don't ask for your Wi-Fi password if you see a hot dog cart, right? So it'll be too much to ask. Yes, for real, dial-up access, and I'll explain to you, right? Is it possible? So here's a kind of rhetorical question, or a question for $64. As they say, is it possible to have a complete, almost 100% wireless network? And they put in bracket most residential systems. Yes, it is possible to have almost wireless, but you see, when people say you go completely wireless because wireless is going to be the upgrade from wired, no, it will never. Well, should never say never, but in this reality that we are in right now, it will be hard to do. Excuse me. All right. So, and then even the wireless access point has to be wired through a wire to the main network, right? Or it has to have some sort of a wire that connects power to it, right? So that's why I say almost 100% wireless. Okay, but for the most residential systems, you don't connect your laptops or cell phones through a cable to the main network. Well, if you want more security or if you want a more reliable connection, yes, I would recommend wired connection. But for the convenience, most of the residential systems, they use wireless connections, right? Now, I just put like here, can you spot the wireless access points mounted around the hallways of our school? Presently, well, to 200, see, this is when I produced this document here. It's 2022 right now. The wireless access point at Fanshawe have a light status, right? So the ones that we're using, they're still the same. Can you tell the differences between the colors that they indicate? I'll tell you, right? Whenever you walk through the hallways, if the school is empty, which is not hard to find these days, it's a COVID, still we're going through the COVID times. If the wireless access point is just idling, not being used, you're going to see the light, green light on it. Right? These are the Cisco ones that we have. Right? Some other ones may have different type of indication lights, but the ones we have. So if you see green light, that means nothing is used, nothing is connected to it as far as wireless devices. As soon as you walk towards that, it is going to sense your telephone. If you are logged into the school network, it's going to sense your telephone signal, your cell phone signal, And if you just give it about 20 seconds or so, you're going to notice that the light is going to go blue. That means something is connected to it. So you can just, for fun, you can just look at some of that. Or if you walk into an empty class, you're going to see a wireless access point, the light green, and give about 20, 30 seconds, bang, the light turns blue. And if the light is flashing, that means it's either there's some sort of an error or maybe it's booting up. Okay? So that's as far as the wireless access points. Not yet. Okay, wireless local area network, quite widely used in some, in conference systems. So whoever is the guests of the conference, well, believe it or not, people used to meet in person, and they still do in some of the conference systems. So for the convenience, the wireless access points are distributed pretty much everywhere, so people can have the convenience and connecting to the local area network. So does the school have to pay technicians to come in order, or do they just call? Do they call? No, they don't call me. Right. I used to service those and install those, but I do have a different function right now when it comes to Venture College. It's all the well, I don't do this with our school. There are companies that I know that are dealing with that, right? Because you've been in the industry for years, you get to know people and you still see them around. Oops, where's that? Wrong mouse. Right, metropolitan area network, right? A network spanning a physical area, spanning, not spamming, but spanning. Span definition, something such as railroad, trestle, or bridge that extends over a one point from one point. So basically extending, right? So network extending a physical area over a physical area, larger than LAN, but smaller than WAN. LAN is a local area network, usually contained to a building or so, or a company. WAN is the whole internet, right? World Wide Web. But here's the MAN, Metropolitan Area Network. Well, it could be a city network. So such as a city. A MAN typically owned by and operated. MAN is typically owned and operated by a single entity, such as a government body or a large corporation, usually be a city. Okay, so sometimes you're going to see around the traffic lights, you're going to see those, looks like a big binder, but it's like a silver metallic or plasticky type of square thing, and maybe some sort of antenna attached to it, or maybe not. What is this? Well, it would be the wireless access point that is connecting that specific traffic light control system into the MAN, which would be the Metropolitan Area Network. Right. So here's the mystery solved. Right. That's all I got to say about that now. All right. All right, SAN, System Area Network, links high-performance computers with high-speed connections in a cluster configuration, also known as a cluster area network. Whoa, that's a mouthful here. And here's a very complicated picture. So if somebody is walking by and they see you reading that type of documentation, they'll think you're very smart. So there you go. So that's what you use these for. Right? System area network, storage area network. Just imagine that there is a facility such as, let's say school board, okay? And the school board will have the main frame or main computer system that has all the database with the employees' names, students' names, records, all the payroll and everything. It's there. What happens if something happens to that building? Let's say there's a fire, the whole building burns down, right? Well, all the data would be lost, right? So the way to remedy that is that there would be servers in different schools, right? In the different schools, the server rooms, there would be servers put in, right? Boxes, storage devices, right? That would constantly copy what's in the mainframe. So all the data will be copied for security purposes. If something happens to the main one, then you still have the data somewhere else that you can still retrieve, and it could be distributed in multiple different schools. So basically, if something happens to the mainframe, data is being lost, you can still retrieve from the copy that's constantly being made. So that's one way of using the storage area networks. Right? Storage area networks, direct, okay, so the characteristics of that, well, direct accessibility to servers, right? So they do, the servers talk to each other, right? In order to copy data and exchange and upgrade the information as it goes along, because the information of the database is like a living thing, right? As far as constantly changing, right? Indirect or conditional accessibility to the clients. Well, not everybody has a right to see everything that's on it, right? These are special type of servers. So, for example, the accounting personnel would have permissions to enter certain type of files that have to do with their job. But there will be somebody from some other department, like a shipping and receiving, they won't have rights for the accounting data and so on, right? So that's what it means, indirect or conditional accessibility by the end clients. And end client might access send data subject to conditions. Well, it's basically the third line is basically second line by expanding a little bit, which I just explained, all right? Now, we're going to take a little look at some consumer level of using the storage area networks. Now, it's 10 to 4. If you need to go to another class or so, please do so. And after I post this on the YouTube, you can come back and watch the ending of it. All right, but we're going to continue. We might go over like 5 minutes over the regular time here, all right, when it comes to this class, this lesson. All right, so storage area network, all right? How is it that you use that you basically, maybe you're using it and yes, these slides are posted. You can download them now, yeah. Maybe sometimes there are things that you're using, I don't even know that you're using it, right? So here is example of a local television service provider. Well, video on demand or movies on demand. This is one of the local television networks, and somehow somebody stole my picture there, right? Well, it doesn't make me happy, but that's okay. If it serves the world good, then they can have my picture. All right, there we go. Now let's analyze some of that here. All right, so system area network, storage area network. Here is a happy family gathered around the television set. All right, so here's the happy family. All right, got it, got it. And here's the television set. They're gathered around it. Right? All right, now, how is it that what happens when they want to use the movies or video on demand service? Well, the television set is connected to a box, which typically is called a TV box, which is another form of PC or personal computer like electronics. Or it also can be, technically, it can be classified as a media converter or media player because it converts one form of signal to another. Then they would just go through all the commands in order to basically select the movie that they want to watch. Right? That signal gets transferred to a modem. Modem converts the digital signal in the form of Ethernet. It converts it to an analog signal that is just shut out to the cloud. And what's cloud? It's WAN. It's basically the wide area network, also known as internet. All right. Now let's see what happens at the service provider. Here's the other side of the rainbow. Okay. So here's the cloud. From the internet, there's a signal routing system that locks onto it, finds that signal, and it passes on to a local service provider equipment. And here will be the rear view and the front view of something that could be classified as media retrieval rack. There are different names for it. This is just one of them, right? Here's the front of it, here's the back of it. What's in the media retrieval rack? In the media retrieval rack, there are basically a bunch of hard drives, a lot of them, right? And this is a real one that I took a picture of. I had a grand tour and it was pretty impressive. Let's say this rack here, I counted them. It contains 230 hard drives. Each storage drive is 1.8 terabytes, full of movies, shows, and otherwise AV content, right? So this is another form of using a storage area network. You're using it all the time without knowing what you're using, but now you do, right? So you can impress some people. There you go. Now, is that the... oh, we got a couple more slides to go through. VPN, virtual private network. This concept is becoming more and more popular, right? One of the uses for virtual private network is on the consumer level. If you want to surf the internet, and there will be some, sometimes you see the advertisements that there's a VPN. You can purchase the VPN service, virtual private network, that you can see some content that's not available in your country or so on, right? So basically, sometimes you want to see a video and you see some world-related news, and there's be text on it, and they say, here's a video of somebody stealing a chocolate bar from the store, and it made the world news, right? And then you click on that and say, oh, this content is not available in your country. Well, VPN, right? So the virtual private network. What is it? It's a secure channel over the internet, right? It's like a pipeline that is secure. You log onto it, and it's unpenetrable, or so they say, from the outside world. It's a secure channel that you log on, and you're using that connection as your private network within the World Wide Web. Right? Now, a very popular, before that kind of a consumer level, consumer use was available, it was being used for a long time in the commercial environment. Right? So let's say, for example, there is a specific store chain, right, of a specific, and that store has some sort of a main building somewhere, some city in the world, could be anywhere, right? And let's say it has 200 locations all around the world. Now, when it comes to buying a chewing gum in a store, every time you scan that information goes into the mainframe. So the whole data system, database system, all the accounting and all the things that have to do with keeping track of what's being sold and the finance and all that stuff, it's being registered in the mainframe, right? Or it's being logged onto the mainframe, and things are being manipulated that way, right? So that local area network of that specific branch of that company is logging in to a virtual private network that basically is like a main channel for all the stores. And once it logs on to that, the whole thing behaves as if it were a local area network. But you need special credentials. You need a bunch of high quality or high level passwords and whatnot that basically lets you log into that, and then whoever logs into the VPN, it's part of the same network. Right? So that's how it happens. Another way of using that is something that's called a VoIP, or we'll talk about that. It's a type of telephone systems, voice over internet protocol. Let's say there is a specific company, right, that consists of a building with 3 chimneys or 3 stacks, right? And they have branches all over the world. Well, normally, if you will want to make a phone call from somewhere in Asia to somewhere in Africa, it's an intercontinental phone call. It will be a long distance phone call, and the longer you talk, the more money you pay for the connection. If you were using it the regular type of a conventional way of a telephone system. Well, here's a new way now. There's gotta be a better way. Oh, there is. So let's say all those networks of this company branches are logged on to a virtual private network, VPN. So all the computer data is basically circulating, and just the whole thing all over the world from that company. It behaves as if it were a local area network. But since you do that, I want you to take you can take one tiny little step further. You can put the whole phone system on the VPN, but not just the regular phone system, is the VoIP system, Voice over Internet Protocol. We will go into the details of how this works. But here's the basic idea. Now, if the whole thing behaves like a local area network, which means you can freely exchange data as you please at any given moment, well, if you want to make a phone call from the office that's right there in that window there's an office there, and maybe there's an office in that window, and these two people want to talk about something. So they will not have to dial long distance. They would just dial just an extension. So as far as the telephone conversation, there will be no difference between that person calling the other person that's in the next cubicle beside that person, or calling across another continent. Right? So we just consider what makes a VPN more secure than any other net. It's the technology. That's all I can say. Like, it's the secure protocols that are there. It's a well, yeah, that's what I would say. It's the type of protocols that are being used, the secure protocols. Yeah. Sounds like you have a dial-up with the phone in the background. Yeah, there's phone ringing. There's phone. It's office environment, so you're going to hear some background noise. Okay? All right. So, well, if you want to click on that later on, you can see a little bit of a funny cartoon video. What happens when the internet goes down? How to use termination? Well, you know what? Watch these two videos as well. It's going to help you with some of the labs, but we're going to look at the in more detail when it comes to connecting or terminating the RG45 jacks and the yeah. So it's not part of this lecture. However, please watch those. It's like 3 minutes here and 2 minutes here. So go ahead and watch those. Right. All right. So what was the question? Somebody asked me a question. Oh, the dial-up. All right. We will talk about that in a little bit greater detail. But how is it? Believe it or not, dial-up is still being used as a backup system. When it comes to retail business, for example, well, it's all about money. If the network goes down, something happens, and then anything, the data strains can be corrupted in the switch, or something will happen to a network that just basically flips it upside down. So the network doesn't work. So the store can't make any sales, right? And if it can't make any sales, then it can't make any money. So pretty much every reputable company, mostly in the retail business, they would have dial-up backup system. So let's say the store has 6 cash registers, or POS, point of sale stations, right? And the network goes down. The network senses that, it kicks over to the dial-up network, shuts down all the other cash registers except one. And if somebody wants to use a debit machine or any kind of a transaction that involves switching data, then they use the debit machine and they can buy the product, except the transaction takes a little bit longer because the dial-up modem just dials, and then you hear that, that stuff. I can still make it, and the transaction is being made, and then it hangs up, right? And then the next person. So the sales go slower, but still you can keep making the sales until the network comes back online. Right? So that's why that's how and it's a very popular thing, and when I was doing the service, some of the service calls quite often would be periodical visits to the specific stores, and have a regular test that okay, it would be like less busy hours or so, and the idea of the service call would be to just basically switch over to the dial-up, see it behaves the way it should be, makes a contact properly, and it shuts down. Okay, good, check mark. That thing is that thing that's working, right? So yeah, all right. So this is as far as the network types. And next time we're going to, yeah, have a good evening as well. Next time we are going to take a look at the network topology. So now you know the network types. Now, if you go to the first, after we just talked about, if you go to the first slide, where is the first slide? No, 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 no. Come on, come on. Yeah, if you go to the first slide here, and if you look at the lights right now, this thing kind of it puts a different paint job on things, because now you know what these lights mean, right? Cool. Guys, have a good one, and I'll see you when I see you, which is tomorrow, right? Okay, thank you very much. Good night.